We'll give a few minutes, people a few minutes time to get on here. Now, last week it was our first live, and guys, I'm gonna tell you what, I was scared to death, shook like a leaf, and lighting was poor. We was outside. It's cold this morning, so we're inside. So any case, this morning this is our second live, and I see people popping on. Marthel too, welcome. Chris Vary, welcome. Ed Van Lady. Anyway, welcome. Guys, this is literally the second time I've ever been live on anything. Just a quick overview. A few months ago, I finally got to editing and writing, and I wrote a few books, and then we started building a social media presence, and now, I'm starting to see, over on the tubes, I'm starting to see, views, 1,000, 2,000 views on videos, and we're starting to resonate with people. And Sundays we decided to go live because without God, we wouldn't have anything we have. This is, my platform by and large is not a ministry. We're here to help people move forward. We're here to help people make change. We're here to help people do a lot of things. But, it comes back around to this. Here, I'm going to invite a couple people while we're doing this. At the end of the day, I say that a lot, by the way. As an Archer, I see you. Thank you for joining. But as people are coming on this morning, we're learning. We're learning how this works. So once we get the Sundays worked out, this is something I know about. Then through the week, we'll do a drive time live too. So any case, welcome. I just want to welcome everybody this morning. And, if you would just grab you a cup of coffee and settle in for the next little bit. I'm going to talk to you today. I'm going to talk to you about Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. But before I do, I want to go back and talk to you a minute about the things we talked about last week, because each one of these weeks actually builds upon itself. Again, we're here to help people grow, help people build, help people break down barriers, help people, see that they matter. That's what this is all about. You matter. I matter. We all matter. And I have walked my journey out in real time to show people that it can be done. Anyway, last week we talked about 1 Peter 5, 6, and 7. Humble yourself, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. Cast all care upon him, and he'll care for you. And I told a simple story about my daughter and a peanut butter sandwich. And anybody that was here last week, I'm just going to give you a real quick overview. It says, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God. Well, my daughter, I'm not God. She's not scared of me, and I'm her dad. And I'm not trying to say I am God. Let's just clarify that real quick. But, to compare to the story, so for understanding purposes, my daughter, when she gets hungry at 2 years old, would come to me for food. Well, he'll exalt you in due time. I was on the telephone one time, she asked, and needless to say, she made a peanut butter sandwich and made a huge mess. I had to clean that up before I could finally feed her. Cast all your care upon him, and he'll care for you. If you cast that care and let him care for you the first time instead of making messes, at the end of the day, we'll have our due time a lot quicker, and we'll have exactly what God wants us to have without the pain. But in any case, today, now we're going to jump right into Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And we'll talk about that. Lee Woodward, welcome. Welcome. Ripley Betch, welcome. I just want to thank everybody for being here this morning. This is amazing. Last week we drew 70-some viewers on the live, and that shocked me. This morning we're not going live on other platforms. We're going to stay live here on Sundays. Chris, I see you, and I see all that beautiful jewelry you keep posting too. Welcome. All right, so let's. It's 8:05. We've got some people coming on here pretty quick. Lone Star Virgo, welcome. Guys, my name's Walt Adkins, and it's real simple. I'm just a simple country man, a simple country guy out in the middle of West Virginia who's lived a whole bunch of life. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an author. and at the end of the day, well, we teach a little Bible sometimes, but we're thankful for God all the time because nothing we have, we would have without Him. That's just a fact. So, in any case, pardon me while I stutter here. I'm trying to read down the screen as we go and make sure that I'm seeing people, acknowledging people, and things of that. Guys, again, I'm new to this live stuff. So anyway, let's get into it. It's going to take us a little bit here to unpack this one. So Hebrews 11:1 says, now, comma. That comma is important. Now, comma. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not see. Faith, excuse me, I told you. Bless God. Distractions. But in any case, Hebrews 11:1. Now, comma, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. There we go. That comma is important. And I want to focus this morning on the word now. Okay? I want to focus on the word now. I've got a couple of notes here, just as little reminders along the way. Where did I do? There it is. So, right off the rip, I just want to remind you that, there we go. I just want to remind you what the substance and the evidence are. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence not seen. The substance is the inner reality that God gives you. Okay? That's what the substance of this, of faith, substance is, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The substance is the inner reality God gives you, okay? And the evidence is the inner proof God gives you. Both exist before outer manifestation ever shows up. Let's get that straight now. This is where most people get lost. Well, what do you mean? The substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. If I can't see it, how does it exist? The substance, again, is the inner reality God gives you, okay? The evidence is the inner proof God gives you. Okay, so they're in you. That's where the conviction lies. And outer manifestation comes when you know the reality God gives you, and you have the evidence of the inner proof that God has placed on your heart, and you're able to move forward as if you have until you do manifest. Okay, but now let's back up. JC, I see you joined. Thank you. Welcome. Blair, welcome. So let's get back to the now, comma part. Okay, this is where faith is released. Okay, now is separated from the rest by a comma because it's an instruction, it's a direction, it's where faith is actually released. But to understand what the word now means, we need to look at the Webster's dictionary, good old Merriam-Webster. Now, according to the Webster's Dictionary, means, ready for this, the time just before the present. Let that sink in a second. Now is the time just before the present. Now is where the spark happens, the thought is created, the moment the idea is birthed. The moment the action happens before the present. The present is where we live. If we can think about this just happened, well, that just happened is the now. Now is the moment just before the present. And that's where faith is released. Okay? So when you release your faith, it happens in the now. You don't release it in the future. Well, I want a new car. I want to. That's not how that works. Now faith is. Now I'm going to tell you a little story about a time. And I could tell you many, many stories. But I'm going to share one specific relatable story. That's kind of quick. The Zapper, I see you. Thank you for joining. But I owned a landscape company for a few years here in the southern West Virginia. And when we first got started, okay, with our landscape company, we owned nothing. I started with some borrowed tools and a wheelbarrow, okay? I just went out and went to work, man. And, we took what we had and we began. Well, we had borrowed a wheelbarrow. And it had it had a bent handle and this, that, and we didn't care. We had a wheelbarrow to use. So every morning we'd stop and pick up these borrowed tools, and I'd strap this wheelbarrow to the top of a 95 Nissan Maxima with a couple of pool noodles to keep from scratching the roof, and off we go. So we pull into as we loaded up one particular morning, the owner of said wheelbarrow come to me and said, Walt, I'm going to need my wheelbarrow, and you're going to need to get your own. You've been working for a week or two now. Come up with some money, get your own wheelbarrow. And I said, okay. Well, I looked at the girls and I said, ladies, the people that were working with me, I said, ladies, we got to make some money here and buy us a wheelbarrow. We got to the first job. The client walks out on the porch. She had lost her husband prior, and, she was in the process of cleaning up some messes and piles around the house, and time had passed. And she looked at me and she said, Walt, she says, at the end of my house, there's a trash can and a water hose and some things. Do me a favor, pick that stuff up and throw it on your trailer. And when you make a dump run, take it to the dump for me. No problem. I walked around the side of the house. Folks, I'm going to tell y'all something. When I was told to get a wheelbarrow, when I got in the car and looked at the lady and said, we need to make money to get a wheelbarrow, I released my faith the moment I decided to get a wheelbarrow and said, this is what's going to happen. Look, I'm going to tell you what, I got to that job, I walked around the side of that house, my hand to God. And we found a trash can full of water and some old stuff. We found a couple of garden hoses that we needed. And, hey, Duckadoo. Here, I'm going to let my dog through here real quick. Pardon, sorry, y'all. So, in any case, and sitting beside it was a wheelbarrow identical to the one that was on top of my car with a bent handle that was borrowed, except it was brand new. Looked like it hadn't been touched. I mean, the inside of the barrel wasn't even scratched. And I went back around the house and I said, hey, do you want me to put this in your garage? This is your wheelbarrow. I don't know if you know this is around here. She said, haul it all to the dump. You can have it. I don't care what you do with it. Get it out of here. Folks, I'm going to tell y'all something right now. I was absolutely beside myself, so much so that I almost couldn't work that day. And that's when I got the realization, even though I learned a long time ago that I needed to have faith, I learned what faith was. I didn't know when to release faith, and I really didn't understand what faith was, as far as, the true definition of. So, again, faith, is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Faith is believing in something you can't see. The substance is the inner reality God gives you. The evidence is the inner proof God gives you. Both exist before the outer manifestation ever shows up. And folks, I'm telling you something, the manifestation does show up. Wyatt W., I see you. Donald Davis, I see you. Hunting Hokey 7, welcome to the broadcast, guys. Guys, right now, I'm just going to take a quick pause. We've been here for about 15 minutes, and there's quite a few people coming on. And I just wanted to open it up for questions, and I'm going to continue talking about this subject shortly. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about last week's live, too. Again, I was so nervous last week, I don't think I made the point. And but nonetheless, I just want you all to know that I appreciate you being here. I never in a million years believed that I could draw anybody on a live, much less put 1,000 views on a video short or, anything that I say would be relevant. In my last business, I hired, it seemed like I always had people that were unqualified, and people that always had problems. And people, what I realized was I had rebuilt my life, and I was, I'm an outspoken person, and people were flocking to me not because of the work, because believe me, everybody wants a job till it's time to work. And I found that everybody loves landscaping until it's time to do yard work. But people flocked because of the things that I was telling them on a daily basis. And it was reaction stuff, but things that I'd already lived. I'm 53 years old. I have lived some stuff, y'all. I have some stories. But bigger than that, I have information. And it shocked me when I started this about 6 weeks ago. it shocked me to how many people actually resonate with what we're talking about. Russell, welcome, 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 welcome. Todd, welcome. Chrissy B, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the live. So in any case, this morning we've been unpacking Hebrews 11:1, talking about now faith, now being the moment just before the present. Anybody got any questions? Anybody got any comments? Anybody got anything they want to add? Feel free to add in the comments in the live. I actually have them scrolling in front of me. I'm watching them as we go here. And guys, right now, we're still adding people. I'll go back and cover the material again if we need to. But this is my second live, and I'm not sure how everything works, but I do know this. If you guys enjoy these little Sunday morning teachings, these little Sunday morning moments, if you enjoy some of my other content, and you want to see me keep producing this content, don't forget up here in the corner, there's an opportunity for you to be able to help us help more people. So feel free to, if you feel so inclined, help us keep this mission going, and help me keep going the things we got going on to, anyway, if you want to support us, it's up here. I'm not good about asking for stuff like this, but I just wanted to remind y'all that it is an opportunity, and I do appreciate everybody's support and everything. If you're on this live right now and you want to, and you've got some people you want to include in this conversation, please, by all means, send them a little link, send them a little invite. We're going to be here for about 10 or 15 more minutes, maybe. Just depends on how the feed goes. But again, we're back talking about Hebrews 11:1. But before I go back into that, let's bounce back to last week. 1 Peter 5, 6, and 7, and how this ties together. 1 Peter 5, 6, and 7. Humble yourself, therefore, under the mighty hand of God. He'll exalt you in due time. Cast all care upon him, and he'll care for you. And again, we talked about that last week in the fact that we need to wait on God to do what God does and not run ahead of him and make a mess, because that mess will have to be cleaned up before our due time will come. This ties into now faith. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for and evidence not seen. Folks, God is a good God. He wants to give his children good gifts. Well, God's a bad God. He's a mean man with a magnifying glass, and every time I mess up, he punishes me. Guys, listen. God has, number one, provided for you everything you will ever need in his word. Number two, he's given you dominion over everything on this earth. Number three, he's given you free will. Now, bad news is everything on this earth operates in a principle called seed time and harvest. Everything you sow, you wait time, you reap a harvest. You sow a seed, you wait time, you get a plant that produces fruit. You sow a tomato seed, you get a tomato. You sow human seed, you get a baby. Whatever seed you sow comes back. You start sowing seeds out there, the weed seeds I call them. You start going out there sowing contention. You start go out there and start stirring the pot. You go out there and start doing things that, things that need to be cleaned up. Humble yourself under you need things cleaned up. Humble yourself, therefore, under the mighty hand of God. He'll exalt you in due time. Wait and let God clean up the messes for you. We'll talk about what wait means in a couple of weeks. But the big thing is don't go out there putting your hand stuff, making messes. Wait for God to show up, because he'll care for you a lot better than you ever could care for yourself. You can go back on any of my platforms and see that live replay, even though it was really bad last week, and I was extremely nervous, and the lighting was really poor outside. So in any case, feel free to go back and pick up that teaching. But today, again, we learned that so that we can learn when faith is released. It's released in the now. When is the now? Now is the moment just before the present. Charlotte Bird, welcome, welcome, welcome. Jason Bice, welcome. D, how you doing? Beth, I see you. Michael Martin, welcome to our broadcast here. Guys, it just absolutely amazes me how many people are on. This is my second time live. Now, my platform, and you can go over to, you can see what I've been posting here in TikTok, and on the other platforms, you can see a lot of the short videos and things, to where literally, guys, I'm an old fed up guy who's just tired of nonsense. When I turned 40, it's just like something in me snapped. I'm 53 now. And it's WTF is plastered across my forehead everywhere I go because I can't help seeing people trip over themselves. Why? Because I tripped over myself so many times coming up. I didn't have mentorship. I didn't have the things a lot of people have. What I had was a few good people with good intentions, and I had people who believed that I could just stand up and take off running, and I didn't know how. Well, you take off running, you're going to fall a whole bunch. Well, I did, and I've learned, and I've made mistakes, and I've paid stupid tax that most of y'all couldn't afford. I've been through parts of life that would have killed most of you. That being said, here we are. Here we are. And I'm fed up and tired of, you know what? I hear stuff, excuse my mouth. I hear stuff all the time, I can't find a job, this, that, and guys, I live in rural southern West Virginia. You know what? Right now, I see one handful of people saying, well, I can't find a job, and I got another handful of friends saying I can't find employees. Well, you know what? Here in a couple of days, I'm going to do a live and teach people how to get a job today and quit going. You can go online and put in 5,000 applications. But you know what? 20 years ago, we had to get a Sunday paper, put on a tie, and go out and shake somebody's hand. I'm going to teach people how to get a job here this coming week on a live. One of my first lives through my platform. You can also visit WalterAdkinsJr.com. Guys, I've written 5 books. I've written a book, Crockpots and Common Sense. Slow down. Slow down. Use your head. This is how you rebuild a life that lasts. I have built a book, Farm to Fit. Guys, I almost died a few months ago. I've had a rough couple of years. I'm going to tell you something. I have recovered my mobility. I have dropped 100 pounds. I'm in the process of dropping 100 more. And I'm building a platform after I lost my business because I couldn't show up. Farm to Fit. I have written a book on how to maintain the identity that you've built after you've got your second chance, after you've recovered an addiction, after you've come out of a divorce. How do you keep the life you built without people coming in and draining you dry? I've wrote a book about that. It's on my website, WalterAdkinsJr.com. I have wrote a book about how to deal with grief, how to acknowledge grief and still be able to move forward. Everybody hollers, you know what? You just need to time and forget. No. You'll never forget, no matter how much time passes. But you do need to learn to process grief. You matter. I wrote a book about that. It's on my website, WalterAdkinsJr.com. See, what book? Earn Not Given. That one's near and dear to my heart. As an employer, someone who's giving jobs out, man, let me tell you something. I thought God hated me. The employees, my turnover rates were higher than McDonald's. Everybody wanted to do yard work everybody wanted to it was a landscaper until it was time to do yard work. When you found out that you got to ride a wheelbarrow instead of a $20,000 zero turn, it wasn't so glamorous. Well, you know what? My life is built on sweat equity. And you know what? Borrowing $20 off grandpa or driving mom and dad crazy for money, that is not going to fix the problem. Get up and go do something. What I do, you know what? I'm not in the middle of my calling. I just don't know what. Go get a job. And once you get a job, start building a career. Get an education. Do all this. You do all this stuff simultaneously. And I'll share a story with you down the road in another teaching about a letter a pastor wrote me about keeping your mouth shut when you eat and how to clean up life. Okay? But today's topic, let's get back on track here, is Hebrews 11:1. When is faith released? What is faith? And what is the substance? And what do you mean, now faith is a substance thing, so forth, and evidence, nothing. If I can't see it, does it really exist? Well, I got news for you. When you plant a tomato seed, you don't know that it's going to produce a tomato till it produces a tomato. But you know. You got the evidence of things hoped for. Substance. You got the substance is the inner reality God gives you. The evidence is the inner proof God gives you. Both exist before the outer manifestation shows up. Okay? Folks, air. Can't see it, but I believe it's there. Okay? Now faith. All right, so when is faith released? Now, Webster's Merriam Dictionary defines now faith as the moment, or now, the word now, as the moment just before the present. The moment the spark happens. The moment, bam, now. That's where faith is released. Faith is not released after the fact. Faith is not released, you know, faith is released in the moment you have the thought, the moment you make the decision, the moment you take the step. That's where faith is released. Folks, it wasn't that long ago, right across this room, I laid on this couch at 463 pounds, gained 200 pounds, had no idea why. Since 2018, I had gotten sick. I've been diagnosed with right side heart failure, COPD. I had been put on oxygen. I was told that I was going to die. I'm starting to find out now that there may be another issue, and I have testing this week to see. And if this issue clears up, all this stuff might magically disappear. Folks, I've been dealing with this since 2018. But you know what? That man that was on that couch a few months ago, you couldn't convince him he'd be sitting here today doing a live. I released my faith then. I said, God, if my life is to end it now. But if I'm going to be here, I'm not going to do it on this couch. And I released my faith and I took a step. Guys, what's scaring you this morning? What are you afraid of? What's that one thing that you're absolutely know in your heart of hearts that you want or need, but you're just afraid to do it? Now, I'm going to tell you something. If you release your faith for a Rolls Royce and you out here without a job living in mom's basement, I'm sorry. You're not getting it. Okay? But here's the thing. If you're releasing faith because you need a car, you release the faith. Okay? The faith is the substance, is the inner reality that God gives you. The inner reality is you know you need a car, you want a car. You can see that car. The evidence is the inner proof that God gives you. You know you're going to get it. And you have a job. And you know that if you go sign up and do Financial Peace University with Dave Ramsey and learn how Dave says go get you a car, you know that in 10 months you'll have it. Might not be a Rolls, but you'll have wheels under you because you released your faith. You knew you was going to get it, and you went out and you just kept on keeping on, believing God, believing God, believing God, believing God, and it shows up. Let that settle a minute. I think I lost some of you right there. You know, your silence is thunderous sometimes. Guys, do me a favor. Tell me where you're from this morning. I'm right here in southern West Virginia, down here, Monroe County. Wide open spaces, mountains. I grew up not far from here in Boone County. I don't know if any of y'all ever heard of the Dancing Outlaw, but he lived just up the road from where I grew up. Not that we're trying to put a light on him or anything. Jolene, welcome. Leo Barrios, welcome. Guys, there's a lot of people crawling on here, and I appreciate it so much. If this has blessed you this morning somehow, please, like I say, I found out there's rewards and things. If you want to see us do more, come on back. Next week, what are we doing next week? Well, I'm going to tell you. Next week, we are going to talk, we're going to talk about Jonah. You ever heard the story Jonah and the whale? Well, I'm going to tell you what, you're not going to want to miss next week, because that childhood story that we learned in Bible school, that story we hear all the time about how, we don't do what God wants us to. He's going to make a big old fish. He just throw us up on a beach somewhere and makes us go do it anyway. No, that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the ship owner. We're going to talk about the man that owned the boat, who got tossed about in the water, who threw Jonah's dumb butt overboard. And we're going to talk about his crew and how they were affected and what role Jonah played in their life. So it's a different take on the story of Jonah and the whale. So by all means, next week at 8 o'clock, you're going to want to be back here, because we're going to keep unpacking these truths on Sunday. Now, again, my name's Walt Adkins. I'm nobody special, folks. I'm an old guy with yellow glasses and an attitude who's just tired of nonsense. I'm tired of people's crap. And at the end of the day, I've got straightforward truths, straightforward principles, reality tricks for people that I just want to see people do better, get better. Guys, in the world we live in, I'm going to tell you what, we got enough garbage going on out here right now. Our country, our world is a scary place. I'm looking at political leadership and things. I'm looking at all these things going on. It's awful. It's awful. And I'm trying not to voice myself politically across platforms. That's the most difficult thing I've ever done. I'm trying not to well, I don't want to water down what's going on. And Sundays is straight about giving God the glory for everything he's doing in and through me and my life. Again, if you want to see exactly what I'm doing, go over at walteradkinsjr.com. Visit, run down through the shorts on this page or over on one of the other platforms. I'm on the Book of Faces, and I'm on that Tube Place and all that too. So, by all means, check it out. But right here, I got it. All my content goes right here as well. I have, as soon as we started this with nothing. You boys, y'all want to talk about faith? We started this. I started a landscape company with $20 bill, borrowed tools, and the ability to go to work. I remember one time when we first got started, I hand dug an edge on one of the largest landscapes anybody had ever seen with a hand trowel because that's all I had. But I was going to get the job done. So in any case, this situation, man, we started with an iPhone 16 that didn't have service, a borrowed Wi-Fi signal, and I was sick, boy. I was so sick, but I showed up every day, and I started making content. I wrote my books, and I started making content. And I started doing the things. The books are all written from journals I've kept for 30 years. Things that work, things that don't work. All the books that I've written over on my website are guidebooks on how to get this stuff done. Folks, I'm Walt Adkins. I'm nobody special. And if I can do it, you can do it. And I have built common sense frameworks to make it simple. You don't need all the garbage out here in the world that people are saying. So in any case, again, last week we talked about 1 Peter 5, 6, and 7, being humble under God's mighty hand, understand he'll exalt you in due time, to just be patient and wait. Cast all care upon him and let him care for you. Guys, God can take care of you a lot better than a lot of you take care of yourself. That's just a fact. Some of y'all need to take a lot better care of yourself. I do too. And that's part of life. We live life in the now. We live life daily. So, that's what we got to do. So then today we talked about Hebrews 11:1. Now faith, now being the time just before the present. That's where faith is released. And we talked about, the substance is the inner reality God gives you. The evidence is the inner proof God gives you. Both exist before outer manifestation shows up. So we've talked about when it's released. We've talked about the substance and the evidence. Faith, simply put, is believing for something that you can't see. It's knowing that it's there and you want it, and this is how you got to acquire it. So releasing your faith doesn't mean throw it out there, sit on your hands, and wait for it to drop out of the sky. You can release your faith for $1 million, but if you don't go out there and give God something to work with, it ain't going to happen. So, folks, we're going to talk about what it means to wait in a few weeks. And next week, again, I'm going to tell you a really cool story. And it all ties together here. I'm on a mission because we're starting to get, all together since we started this journey, I've got almost 100,000 views across all platforms on short take little videos calling people out, calling out behaviors and getting little actionable steps. We don't call people out unless we provide the resources and help. It always used to make me mad when somebody would criticize me or belittle me or call me out or criticize me and not provide a way for me to come up. Guys, let me share something with you. Okay? Anybody know what the word gossip means? Gossip is when you talk about somebody to somebody else who cannot help that person or do anything for them. That's gossip. Now, people come to me all the time. I wish there was a word for this. There may be. If there is, please. Yes, Monkey Man, I will follow you. And please follow me. So in any case, I just lost my whole train of thought. I'm sorry about that. It'll come back. Oh, well, what makes me mad is if you're going to go criticize somebody about something, if you have enough knowledge to criticize them, if you have enough knowledge to say that's wrong, if you have enough, understand, people don't know what they don't know till they know what they know. Be the mentor that steps up and shows them how to get it done. So that's what we're going to do. I'm not calling people out, and I'm not going to put anything in anybody's face or place anybody in conviction. Good morning, good poopster. M, good morning to you. Good morning to you. You must be watching from the bathroom this morning. You know, I just got a reality of people sitting watching me live on the toilet. Just wow. All right, so this is my second live, guys. Y'all surprising me here. It's okay. Anybody got any questions? Anybody want to add a comment or anything? I'll read comments out if you want me to. If you want to support this, please, by all means, do so that way we can continue doing it. But I'm going to be doing drive time lives based on my books, conversations, things like that. Because here's the thing. We're not calling people out. We're trying to help people. I'm not going to tell you you're doing it wrong if I'm not going to provide a framework to help you do it right. That's as simple as that. You want to see some of my frameworks? You know, right now my website's under construction. We're building some right now, 60 videos, coaching videos based around my books, and we're going to release all that on the back end very soon. Right now we're building as we're going. I started this project with nothing, bad health and a phone, iPhone 16 Pro or 16 and a Wi-Fi signal. So at the end of the day, you know, we have built as God has given. Can you do ASMR? I'm trying to get one more hour of sleep. What's your favorite type of onion? What is ASMR, if you don't mind me asking, Sussy Baker? I don't know what that means. What's your favorite type of onion? My favorite type of onion is, well, I just like onions, to be honest with you. Can you do ASMR? I'm trying to get one more hour of sleep. Bless God. Go get some rest. Hopefully my voice is not the one that's going to put you to sleep. All right, folks, let's wrap this up here. And, you know, these lives are meant to be fun. They're meant to give God some glory, and they're also meant to give me a platform to share biblical truths around around a lot of the things that I share all week long anyway. I'm not, you know, this is not a ministry. I'm not here to evangelize the world. I'm here to help folks slow down, find steady progress. I'm here to help folks begin a journey. Guys, my entire pretense, this whole thing started in 2013 when I decided I was going to change my life. And I said, God, it's yours. Guys, to rectify my past, my due time included some prison time. My due time included a whole bunch. I had to pay off some stuff. I had to answer. I mean, it was ugly. But I went through it. And when I went through it, came out the other side, everything has unfolded in a way that I couldn't begin to tell you. And when I had the health decline in 2018 and things began progressively worse, tons of diagnoses, tons of medications. I mean, I was told I'd be dead by Christmas 24. So everything I'm doing now is borrowed time. My dad last year passed away. And when he did, I'll be honest with you, I quit shaving completely. I always had a beard, but never a long beard. I didn't know I could grow one this long. Guys, I wouldn't have nothing I have right now without God. And everything I teach does have a biblical foundation. Even though all week long I just teach it as principles. But Sundays, this is my place to tie it all together with some biblical truth and help you take the first steps in walking out your journey. I started using the hashtag Walt's Journey in 2013. I've lived homeless in a tent, had more peace than anybody I ever knew for 18 months while I was rebuilding. I remember going I went down to North Carolina because it was warmer to camp down there than it was up here. And down there I had some friends that had a church, and they had a retention pond behind some trees on a little tidal creek behind their church with a tent platform and a fireplace of sorts. Somebody built a brick fireplace. So I went back there and camped for 18 months. Well, I did handyman work, worked at Sportsman's Warehouse, things of this nature. And I paid off all my life. I came back debt-free, ready to start over. And I can't begin to tell you how God's unfolded. When my health collapsed and failed, again, here we are. We're growing again. I am recovering and restarting one more time. and I'm doing it in real time. And this thing is, the last time, when I stood up and said, God, it's all yours, I said, God, I promise you I'll take 1,000,000 people with me. And my journey from 2013 till now has inspired probably close to that, even though we haven't been online or anything like that. I have worked one-on-one with people in communities and things like this, and this time it's personal. The devil almost took me out by taking my health. I was told I'd be dead by Christmas 24. I'm taking 30 more years. I'm going to be on this planet 30 more years. You watch me. I've dropped 100 pounds in 6 months, and I'm about to lose 100 more. Folks, I was on oxygen 24/7 not that long ago. Okay? God's a good God. And through my other platforms, through the week, through my books, I'm teaching people how to get themselves together, how to take those next steps, and so that God can go in front of them and unfold lives. At the end of the day, which I will say a lot, at the end of the day is my word. At the end of the day, Sunday mornings, this is my time with God and my time to teach you the things that I have studied for years. Last week when we talked about 1 Peter 5, 6, and 7, what you don't understand is when I discovered that verse. Anybody ever seen Jesse Duplantis on TV? Little white-haired Cajun preacher. Well, there's a stretch of time in life I didn't attend church, but I watched different broadcasts on the television. And I watched him because he was funny. The man could hold an audience. Well, this is not a funny story, but it is. But he was coming to Huntington, West Virginia. Now, folks, back then, we're talking prior to 2013. We're talking, gosh, that would have been 2007, 8, 9 when that happened. He was coming to Huntington, and I knew I just wanted to go see him. Well, folks, at that time, I had a problem with the crack cocaine. We all seen that video. I'll do a little too that once in a while, but I ain't gonna do that. We don't mess with drugs no more like that. Period. But I had $300 in my pocket, and I just detoxed, and I decided I was going to put that $300 in an offering plate for Jesse. So I went to see Jesse Duplantis live. Jesse, if you see this, I love you, brother, and by all means, if the folks in Huntington see this, I apologize. I apologize up front for the story I'm about to tell, but this happened. So I got to Charleston on my way to Huntington, and that $300 pulled me straight off that ramp, man, and I went straight to my dope dealer. And I got me a big old 8-ball, and I hit that sucker as I'm getting back on the interstate in Charleston. I started to turn and go back toward the house and just cancel. You're not going to church. You're not going to see Jesse Duplantis. You high. Man, in that car at that exact moment, as if he was sitting there, I heard, "You'll never meet me where I'm at. You'll never, ever meet me where I'm at, but I will always meet you where you're at." And I thought, what? And I noticed my car, instead of turning right and going up the interstate, it turned left, and off to Huntington we went. By the time I got to this church in Huntington, I was higher than 3 pine trees. Okay? I was supposed to meet a friend there, which I did meet a friend there, who had no clue that I was walking on cloud 9. Man, I parked between 2 church buses way out in the back of the lot. And I snuck out, man, 2 or 3 times. It was awful. But Jesse Duplantis, here's the kicker. There was a guy by the name of Hightower there who gave Jesse a painting for the foyer of his new home. That's how you know I was there. Nobody knows this except the people that were in that room. Jesse started preaching 1 Peter 5, 6, and 7 about humbling yourself under God's mighty hand. And I had just picked up a new Bible, and I had wrote into the margins everything he said because I didn't have a piece of paper. I wrote everything he said in the margins around that. He come back praying for people. I left. Man, I was scared to death. If he'd have put his hands on me, I'd have dropped dead right then. I left. I gave my friend a couple $100 to put in the offering plate for him, and I split. Well, I got home with that Bible. I have several Bibles. Well, that Bible had all those notes in it, and I picked it up the second day. I started detoxing again and got through the detox process. Incidentally, that was the last time I ever got high with crack cocaine, period. So I began detoxing again, and I pulled out that scripture. And here's what most people don't realize, is I studied that scripture every day for 10 years. I still look at it often. But in that specific Bible, those scripture, I sat on those. And then I began watching Jesse, and Jesse started talking about things like releasing your faith and this and that. And I started walking things out, man, and things started clearing up. When I was down in Wilmington, man, I went down there. I was broke. I was coming off of drugs for the last time, and I was just trying to get away from the people and the influences. Well, I got down there, and man, things started unfolding like you wouldn't believe. The pastor set me up on a tent platform with an outdoor stove on a tidal creek with a little dock, man. Home away from home for a boy from West Virginia, that's Cadillac style. So now I've got a place to be. They gave me a key, so I had a bathroom with hot water. And all I had to do is carry a hot can of water down back, take a shower. I made me a little shower can out of a weed sprayer and a kitchen nozzle. All right, 2-gallon sprayer worked great. I had enough to take a shower and do my dishes. Did that every morning. Ate out of their food pantry. But you know what? Here's one of the little kickers out of that. One of the little stories out of that just absolutely to this day baffles me. I went down to sign up for food stamps, right, in North Carolina. And I was sitting at the food stamp office desk, and the lady looked at me, asked me my address and stuff. And I said, honey, I'm homeless. I'm living behind a church down here in a tent. You can use the church's address if you'd like. But right now, I'm trying to get back up on my feet. And she looked at me and she said, you're from West Virginia? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, let me ask you a question. You like to fish? I said, ma'am, I love to fish. Man, I ain't got no fishing license. I ain't got no pole. I ain't got nothing, right? Man, I love to fish. I said, I'd love to go fish in that ocean. I went out and looked at that ocean. Man, I'd love to put a pole in that ocean. I'm a fisherman from back home. And she says, give me, you got your license? I said, yeah. She said, give me your driver's license. So I gave her my West Virginia driver's license. That's what I had at the time. And she goes back in another room and comes back with a piece of paper. She says, Mr. Aggie, as part of the supplemental nutritional program in the state of North Carolina, if you get food stamps, you're entitled to a fishing license, intercoastal and offshore, or inland and offshore. I said, pardon? She said, sir, here's a 1-year free fishing license, and handed me a fishing license because I filed for food stamps. And because I was homeless, there was no questions asked. She handed me a card that moment that I could go get something to eat with. Man, North Carolina, thank you. Well, a few days go past. I'm thinking about this great fishing license. Living on a tidal creek. I don't know nothing about brackish water. I'm sleeping in my tent. When I go to bed, the water is level with the pier. When I wake up, man, it dropped 25 feet, and I don't know why. And I realized after about 3 days that it flows right one day and flows left the next. So I'm totally confused about all that nonsense. And by the time I figured it all out, anyway, I got me a job. I was doing side work for the church for different folks, from going on the, I forget what it's called, but it was one of the boards that you go and you can see job postings and stuff. And I would go do little, blow leaves off somebody's roof or pick up dog poop in somebody's yard or whatever it took to make a few bucks. And I got a job at Sportsman's Warehouse. They were coming to Wilmington, and I went and applied, and I helped, I was hired, and I did the camping department setup and worked with them doing demos and stuff on things like Green Mountain Grills and things. But one of the guys that worked there, he looked at me and he says, man, do you fish? I said, yeah, man, but I ain't got no fishing pole or nothing. The next day they came in, him and two of the old guys come in, and they brought me 3 fishing poles, 3 different size setups. And then they showed me what drops were and showed me how to rig things. And then the store manager went back in a basket and got me some things that manufacturers had sent to give customers and promo stuff, and said, here, take these and try them. And within a few days, man, I was catching Spanish mackerel off the pier like nobody's business. That being said, I showed up. I didn't have a fishing license. I had no money. I didn't have a pole. I didn't have bait. I didn't have know-how. I had nothing. Well, I'm gonna tell you what. I'll share some pictures on my platforms later that he learned real quick, and that's what it takes, folks. Start where you're at. That's the whole point. That's my whole message. Whatever you got going on, start exactly where you're at in the now, right now. Be patient. In due time, God will unfold it for you. God will unfold it. You ain't got to do a whole lot. But you do have to give God something to work with, and we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. But now faith, now, the moment just before the present. That's where faith is released. That's where faith is truly released. Now, again, for clarification and justification, the substance is the inner reality that God gives you. That's when you realize that's hey, I want this got to happen. This. The evidence is the inner proof that God gives you. I know it can be done. Both exist before the outer manifestation ever shows up. So you're releasing faith for things you don't even know you're releasing faith for. That's what that's called. Okay? And it's done in the now. Now is the moment just before the present. Folks, I hope this has blessed you somehow this morning. And I'm not quite as nervous as I was last week, and I'm truly thankful and grateful for each and every one of you and for everything God's done in my life. And I know that my shorts are real punchy, and I'm just a nasty, grumpy old man spitting out some hard truth realities. But in the world we live in, there's a whole lot of people out here without any type of mentorship. And be honest with you, they don't know what to do. You don't know. If you don't know the question to ask, how do you get the answer? That was always my problem. And a man told me one time to make my training my own responsibility. So how do you do that if you don't know what you're looking for? Well, I learned how. In any case, feel free to check out my website, walteradkinsjr.com. Feel free to check out any of my books. Feel free to follow my content. I've got free blogs posted online. And now we're adding this layer of Sunday service to tie together what we do with what we teach and where these principles actually come from. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope this has been a blessing for you somehow today. So at the end of the day, please invite a friend, show up next week, and until I see you again, know that I love you and I believe in you, and I matter and you matter, and we have gone too far not to go further. Y'all have a great Sunday. And I'll see you later. Be sure to check out my videos and stuff down in the feed. And guys, oh, by the way, let's get some stuff going here. Do me a favor, share me around, follow my content, like my content, and by all means, start leaving comments on my short posts and stuff. Let's start boosting interaction. If I'm getting 1,000, if the algorithm is showing me 1,000 views in a couple of hours on a post now, some interaction, some movement, man, that'll shoot it around the world, and that's what we want to do. And if once we get the content numbers up and I start seeing monetization, I will make my books available for free. I will make my teachings available for free, and we will reach out and we will help people where we can. Why? Because we're not out to help 1 million. We out to get 10. We're out to go to the top and take 10 million people with us. They told me I'd be dead 2 years ago. I'm taking 30 more. So at the end of the day, it's a good day. Folks, I love you. Have a great week. If you want to learn how to get a job today, see me Tuesday, I believe. I think I'll be going live and talking about that. Otherwise, I'll see you next Sunday for Sundays with Walt. Be sure to join us next week when we talk about Jonah with a twist.